It's been some time since I've been here, but let's not waste any more moments on nostalgia. Today, we're watching The Jungle Book 3D. Random is with us. Say hello, Random. The 1967 movie original is a classic. As it should be noted, it's actually Walt Disney's last ever movie before he sadly passed away in 1966. So that movie is a tough act to follow, but considering the stellar vocal cast of Sir Ben Kingsley, Bill Murray as Baloo, which
John Goodman.
That's too obvious. It should have been Gary Oldman. Him playing Baloo, that's kind of out of the blue, like Baloo. Scarlett Johansson as Kaa, I don't know. And the one that took us really by surprise was Christopher Walken being cast as Louie. Don't know what to make about that. In just under 2 hours, you will get my exact opinion of The Jungle Book 2016. Until then, signing off. Now for the spoiler version of my review for The Jungle Book 2016. I'm going to get right down into the writing. It stays very faithful to what the 1967 movie did, even right with the opening credits. It, even begins with this very slow, percussive beat that we're familiar with the original. And, it doesn't mess about, it just gets straight into the credits. Even, like, the opening Disney reveal is very reminiscent of the original, including having the classic Walt Disney font in yellow, which I thought, okay, that's a nice touch. With Sir Ben Kingsley doing the same narration as the original voice actor from 1967. At times, it kind of flip-flops in between. Does it want to stay true to the original, or does it try to go off and do its own thing? Now, I'm all for little homages, like, for example, the way that Mowgli has this sort of father-son interaction dynamic with Baloo, but I didn't feel like there was a lot of that in this flick. I felt there seemed to be more of a connection with Bagheera, and Bagheera at places, the way Ben Kingsley did his delivery, there was times where he's very good-tempered, and there's other times where you can still see him, hear it in his voice, he's clenching his teeth, sort of thinking, why are you being this idiotic? Because one of the little themes that goes on is the animals in the jungle don't like it when Mowgli does what they like to call his tricks, which is things like when they're at the Peace Rock to drink, he's gathering this very self-made bucket, for lack of a better word, just to scoop up so he can drink the water, and everyone's given like, what's up with this guy? And to where later he's helping Baloo gather honey for the bees. To me, this is Mowgli. This particular incarnation of Mowgli is very resourceful, inventive, and very, very intelligent. And Neil Sefi, or Sefi, I'm not 100% on the pronunciation, so please do correct me if I'm in fact getting it wrong, and knowing me, this wouldn't be the first time. He just comes across as, not to say that the original, that the way that Mowgli was portrayed in 67 was, that he wasn't clever, far from it, but I think the way that what Jon Favreau did in directing Neil is, show that this character is really resourceful, that he can think his way out of things, or he can think of the smarter, not the harder way to work. And that was something that was very pleased with, particularly the way that Mowgli outsmarts Shere Khan in making him go poof in his fiery demise at the end with Man's Red Flower. I'm gonna come right off. I felt the songs sung by Bill Murray, Neil Seafy for Bare Necessities. I know they I'm glad that they kept that song because that is synonymous with the Jungle Book. It's like, part of your world, of their world with The Little Mermaid, or Hakuna Matata with The Lion King. Those are songs that are just as much as a part of the movie as, very iconic characters from those respective movies. It's like, you can't take those songs out of those movies. Whereas, now, I'll give a lot of props to Christopher Walken because he doesn't sound like he's not that typical guy that does a lot of musical pieces, let alone, in movies or anything. But he tried, Wanna Be Like You. And the way that Louis is represented in this movie, I got chills looking at it. It's like, whereas with the original he's an orangutan, this one I can't remember the specific scientific name that this particular species of ape is, but it's meant to be like an extinct version where it's just just absolutely gargantuan in size. And I'm looking at, sitting in the cinema seat, even with the 3D shades on, and I'm like taken aback as to, that there's some characters who are larger than life in a movie. You're looking at King Louis and it's like, so yeah, everyone pretty much turned in a very, very decent performance. I really loved Lupita's performance as Raksha. You really felt like her voice and the CG representation were one. You felt the emotion coming from this character. You really believed in her delivery, just how much she cared for Mowgli, even though it's not one of her natural sons. This man cub to her is her son. End of. It's irrelevant. She thinks of him as being no different to any of her wolf cubs. And I like that kind of representation. Disney, back in the day, and more so recently, they're making movies where you feel you do get emotion out of it. You see it with Baloo to a certain extent, but I didn't feel like there was much of a connection between him and Mowgli as opposed to, the original animated movie. Whereas this, I felt it was being forced in some way. I mean, Bill Murray, he gave a absolute stellar performance as Baloo, but I wasn't feeling it between the two of them. Whereas, you felt there was more of a connection between Mowgli and Bagheera, and to the same extent, Mowgli and Raksha, but not between Mowgli and Baloo. There just wasn't any. So, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but, those that, like I say, grew up with the original, there was, Mowgli and his Papa Bear. you know, voiced by the wonderful late Phil Harris, who, you know, he made that character his own. And subsequently, when he went to reprise it later for Tailspin in the late 80s. I did like the fact that they didn't go for the same ending this time. That, you know, Mowgli got to stay in the jungle and actually remain with the wolf pack. So I'm glad that they didn't go for the safe option. They thought, well, let's turn it on its head a little bit. Let's have Mowgli come back and say, you know what? You killed my dad, and you're expecting me to just sit there. I'm like, no. Idris Elba as Shere Khan. The power, and the, you know, absolute fierce, animalistic tone radiating from this character. It does send chills down your spine. 'Cause this is, Idris just has this force behind this voice. It's like, you know, when this guy starts projecting, it's like, you don't screw with this guy. You know, if he says, I'm gonna kill you in this movie, it's like, he's gonna go do it. You know, he's not screwing around. Although Random DCE said something that that makes a lot of sense. The reveal was way too quick. If it had been done where his voice is in whispers, or you hear things like a roar in the distance, so that it's building tension, and when you see the reveal, you are absolutely petrified out of your skin, whereas the tension's gone when it's revealed too quickly. A lot of people would argue that the way that they did the reveal of Moriarty in BBC's Sherlock, his name is in whispers. You know, you get a presence of him, so that when the reveal comes, it's, you know, it's mesmerizing. And like I say, here with the 2016 remake, readaptation, reimagining of the Jungle Book, you know, call it whatever you will, the reveal for Shere Khan could have been saved for a little bit later. I thought it was interesting that the elephants didn't speak in this one. You know, they were more revered as these very respectable, graceful, and intelligent animals. You know, it's a different take on it. I like it. And let me just get into the visuals. I could swear blind when I went in to see this. I thought I was seeing a movie shot on location. That this was, you know, in some jungle in India, but it was actually all done in a green screen and blue screen rooms, respectively, and it just blows your mind that the technology has caught up to such a point where you look at it and you think, that looks real. And to see all this done so photorealistic, it makes you think now a lot of people are going to say, you know, a lot of studios now are going to save so much money by not having to go on location, because the proof is in the pudding. When you see this movie, you can't tell the difference. I mean, I couldn't tell the difference. I looked like, whoa. And should all be thanks to Avatar in 2009, because they raised the bar in visual effects, and I think the Jungle Book has taken it to that next level. So there's not really much else I can say. I think it would have been better in terms of the sing-alongs, if they had gotten recording artists that sound similar, speaking-wise, when the songs are in, but then, you know, have them, you know, like I say, recording artists sing the songs, because, you know, and again, I give props to Christopher Walken. I know the man tried, but like with Bill Murray trying to sing Bare Necessities, those are classics that you just don't butcher. And yeah, I had to facepalm a little during those segments, because I'm like, stop, just stop. I don't know, but you know, don't let that ruin your, you know, perspective or your intention of, you know, to go see the movie, because this is a movie you have to see. I mean, I grew up with The Jungle Book when it was rescreened on TV back in the day. You know, when I got the chance to get it on DVD, you know, grabbed it with both hands, didn't even make a single second thought about it, because this, you know, the original, and I've said it so many times, the original is an absolute bona fide classic. It's one of those movies where, and it should be noted, the 1967 movie was the last ever movie that Walt Disney worked on before he passed away in '66. And not too many movies since then have that same kind of Disney fairy tale magic. Your mileage may vary on that one. So, but to see something that's, in my opinion at least, a little closer to what the original was, even though it's live action, I was very impressed by. So, The Jungle Book 2016 gets a must. Thank you for watching, and seriously, go watch this movie. You'll feel like you're 10 years young again, just like I did. Until next time, good night from the night.